What's up, guys? We're gonna brobeatz. Today I'm gonna be showing you guys how to make your single note melody sound good. With that being said, let's just go ahead and hop into the video. Let's go ahead and throw down a quick bass line. Let's grab a, let's do like a G, something like that. So we have our scale, and it doesn't really matter. You can always transpose and change the scale. So let's start on our root, all right, the G. And what we can do to make a quick bass line is we can make a chord upward. So we skip every note within the scale to make a chord like that. And then we can make a chord from the root backward, and that'll give us a nice range. And this is a quick way to start any bass line if you just don't know bass lines or you have any in your head. And then from here you can add plus ones. Plus ones are the notes right in, like the next note within the scale. So that will be like a +1. This will be a +1, etc. So let's see. Let's try that. So the next thing we need to do for our bass line, this is very important and people forget to do this. Now most people, they'll just do something like this. You need to add a little bit of rhythm since we're going to be making a single note kind of melody. So let's pretty much just do, well, we could just copy it over like this. All right, so that is our bass line. So now what we're gonna do is talk about our how to kind of create a nice single note melody. Let's go ahead and set up our melody now. So what I like to do is kind of keep the same rhythm pattern going, and I think this works easily for like these single notes. So if we have something like this, what you want to do is usually in the first half, okay, of this bar, you want to try to keep a similar, it doesn't need to be exact, a similar rhythm, right? And then everything else after that won't matter. So I'll show you what I mean. So if we do something like this and then you completely change it like that, or I don't know, maybe do something like this. Let's see. Right, you can see obviously that's a little off, but you can see that it kind of has the same rhythm. So that's kind of the idea, and I kind of like these notes. So let's make a little melody out of this. All right, and then we have our bass lines down here kind of creating bounce for us as well. So I like that. So like I said, matter of fact, let's just copy this and then we could change some things up, right? So say you wanted to, let's move, I kind of want to choose a different note. Let's go down this way and let's go up this way. And then what we can do is use these notes. So let's pull these back, right? So our rhythm is still the same, right? It's just the note has changed, right? And then if we want to, we can kind of break this. And then I think we should probably pull this up since we ended up here, and then we can kind of come back here. All right, and then I think we just copy this over the whole part, and then let's play it. Kind of get the bass line in there if I can. All right, so what I want to do now is pretty much copy this over, and then we can talk about adding variation, because I think when you have something this simple, variation can be extremely useful. Now for variation, what we're going to do is just copy it over, and then we could just change up the rhythm, or you can change some of the notes. So I'm going to delete this so we can just, do this real quick. I'm going to go in, and then let's change to 1/4, and then we can offset this to create a little bounce. Let's pull this down. See, and I'm gonna use this note and pull it down and see what that sounds like. And I'm gonna use the same kind of area placement. All right, and I think that's decent enough. Move it over. Let's listen to it. and I'm gonna just add this just so it's a little different. All right. And then let's just add this sound here. We don't have to do anything. This is just for like ambience. It's just like an ambient sound here. I'll just play it by itself. All right, so what we're gonna do now is go over like some effects and stuff that you can use for this, because obviously processing comes into, it's a big part of this whole process here. You don't want to just go into a beat with something like this. You want to actually manipulate it a bit. So we're gonna go over some effects you can use for that. Now we're gonna be getting into the effects. So in my opinion, the effects are probably, I would say 50% of the melody nowadays, at least. Like this is cool, right? Like just throwing the notes down. But what really makes it come alive is when you add up a bunch of these effects and you experiment and stuff like that. And that's where you get these unique melodies where it's like, people ask like, oh, how'd you make that, right? So I'm gonna show you what I use. Okay, now I was gonna use gross beat, but I was like, that's not exact. I don't really use gross beat like that, right? I use 𝗗𝗢𝗣𝗡. So I'm gonna show you what, you know, the presets that I use. So the first in order, we have bounceify. So this literally does what it says. It just adds a bunch of bounce to your melody. So I'm gonna just turn everything on one by one. And this is with both melodies in insert one, okay? Right, it gives it like a triplet feel, right? And I really like using this on melodies. It sounds really good when you like add a beat to it. And then next, now I just copied this preset, but this is just kind of a halftime. Simple as that. And I put at 85% just so the higher frequencies can kind of bleed through. So I'm gonna turn that on. You can see now it sounds really weird, really unique, okay? And then I add this flanger. Now the preset I'm using on this is the 𝗗𝗢𝗧𝗏. It's a weird name, but this is the preset that I'm using for it. You can kind of choose obviously whatever other stuff you want to add, but this is just like extra stuff. And this just give it a weird vibe to it. And then the last thing that's important, especially when I add a beat to it, is an EQ. So I usually like doing a strong cut from the low and high, where we kind of like contain a melody in the mid section here. And you can kind of let however much bleed through as you want. All right, and that's pretty much it for this video. Hopefully you enjoyed. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.